In this short masterclass, I'm going to talk about some major differences between modern day D2C companies and conventional FMCG firms like Unilever, Nestle, Cadbury, and all those FMCG companies. So now I've learned these insights by interacting with my clients who are there in D2C companies and even in conventional FMCG firms. So I've based this entire presentation based on my understanding about creating strategy or working along with them in strategy formulation. So now I'm classifying these firms into two types, right? Why am I doing this is to understand what are the strengths of modern day D2C firms, strengths and weaknesses, and at the same time strengths and weaknesses of conventional FMCG firms purely from the marketing, distribution and sales angle, right? So number one, product development cycle. When it comes to coming up with new products to the market, modern day D2C firms score high. They are very fast. Usually I've heard 3 to 6 months cycle is all they need to come up with new product and launch it to the market, right? So they test it, they do all this process, the stage gate process and everything in this 3 to 6 months period. Whereas conventional FMCG firms, they score very less in terms of product development cycle and speed to the market. I mean, mostly more than a year because of the complex structure of the organization. They need to undergo a lot of processes, right? So usually they are very slow in terms of product development cycle and launch speed. On the other hand, market penetration, right? Market penetration, I classify market penetration into two aspects: mental availability and physical availability. Mental availability in the sense your brand awareness and brand recall is so high, and physical availability is nothing but the availability of your product in the retail outlets, physical retail outlets, not e-commerce. Physical retail outlets could be kirana stores, your modern trade, all these steps. That's what I mean by physical availability. Here, modern day D2C firms relatively score less in terms of mental availability. I mean, I'm talking about this from a mass market perspective, right? Because FMCG products, most of them operate under a commodity type and sometimes even in value-added space, but you target a big market. In that sense, modern day D2C firms score relatively less mark in terms of brand awareness and recall. I mean, their reach, penetration to the mass market is relatively less. The reason is they focus more on distribution. It means they create a product. Yes, they do advertising, but mostly on social media, but they jump into the distribution side using e-commerce. Most of the modern day D2C firms don't even advertise. They jump into distribution side of the things. Because they do not focus there, the competition is so huge. So they score very less here. And even in physical availability, right? Say as I said, they are so dependent on e-commerce and direct-to-consumer model. Their physical availability is very low. Whereas conventional FMCG firms, big FMCG firms, score very high on mental and physical availability. So ideally, if you're a modern day D2C firm, you need to slightly orient certain aspects of conventional FMCG firm, particularly in market penetration, to slightly move towards a wider market, enter into certain critical aspects of brand building, that is brand awareness, recall game, and then slowly move on to the physical space also. If you're a conventional FMCG firm, you try to emulate this speed to market from modern day D2C companies. Try to come up with lean teams, adopt a startup culture, and try to go to, you already have the strength in terms of market penetration. If you develop this strength in terms of, in this area of the quadrant, product development, cycle, and speed to the market, obviously you can leverage all those strengths you have already developed in market penetration. And the other aspect which I wanted to talk about is, if you're a small FMCG brand, ideally, I've seen a lot of regional FMCG brands who are relatively doing well, 30 crore, 40 crore, 50 crore. And sometimes certain entrepreneurs who are starting up on that FMCG product level, they come to me and ask, I'm trying to enter into the distribution game, the physical distribution, and retailers are not accepting my product. Number two, they are willing to keep my product, but they offer very low margin. And even the payments are not so prompt. These are the general complaints which a new FMCG business owner has. Why do you have this problem is because you lack customer equity like conventional FMCG firms. Retailers, I share this, the way the retailer, a supermarket owner would think about his business. Even if you go now, you would see in any small scale retail outlet or departmental store, almost 80% of the brand would be conventional FMCG firms brand. Famous brands. It could be Horlicks, Boost, Britannia, a lot of conventional brands. The reason they give majority of the shelf space to these conventional brands is because they have high level of customer equity. The customer steps into the store, these brands are very familiar, they pick up the brand. These retailers do not have cash flow problem, right? But conventional FMCG firms offer only low margins, but these retailers do not find, because they have the brand equity, the cash cycle is fast. So for the purpose of safety, they prefer conventional FMCG brands. 10-15% space they allocate to, they have their own private label brands. They give some space to upcoming brands where they can negotiate and get better margins. That's how the game of retail, that's how the retail supermarket owners think about brands. So ideally, if you're an entrepreneur, small scale entrepreneur, you're trying to scale your FMCG brand, you should think about how you can develop customer equity. I'm not suggesting you to go for a massive advertising campaign like conventional FMCG brands, but some level of customer equity you need to develop, primarily through mental availability. If a customer steps into a retail store and asks your brand, you have customer equity. That's the essence of it. How can you do it? You have to think about that. Other aspect is, how can you bring differentiation? You do not have much of money or a financial muscle to invest so heavily on advertising like conventional FMCG brands. Lot of new age brands, for example, Paper Broth. I've seen a new brand called Yoga Bar. They've created a differentiation. In terms of product, you target a different niche. You have to bring the strategy game in the equation if you do not have financial muscle to invest on advertising. It means you enter into the physical stores, because your product is unique, you get some store space there, the customer uptick is more, retailers get confident. Even though you do not advertise, you're gaining traction in the marketplace, right? So that's what I wanted to talk about.